Welcome back to the Just Men podcast, a podcast about all things manhood, masculinity, and everything to do with men. My name's Jeremy. I'm one of your hosts, and here with me is the wonderful
Mr. Byron Rose Kelly.
Welcome back, Byron Rose Kelly. Lovely to have you here with me again, discussing, exploring everything that we explore every week. If you guys are tuning back in, welcome back. If this is your first time listening to us, welcome. Just a quick plug before we get stuck into it. We've got our Just Men podcast Patreon all set up, ready to go. It's all running. So if you like our vibe, if we bring you consistent value into your life, wherever you're listening to this, on your run, on the way to work, whatever it is, please consider joining the Just Men podcast Patreon just to show your support. It's just a cup of coffee every month, as we like to say. And it really helps us put everything that we earn back right into this project to keep bringing you more value, more good stuff.
It keeps the lights on, Jeremy.
It keeps the lights on. And we keep saying this, Byron, but our goal is right now we're talking across, not across an ocean, thankfully, but we're online, we're talking through a camera, and I think it's going to be a goal that we can record in the same room consistently one day. So I think that's what we're pushing for.
That's the dream. That's the dream, my friend.
But speaking of which, as much as this is a goal, it is also a goal to discuss today's topic. Byron, did you want to introduce what we're talking about today?
Oh, yeah, this one is a little bit scary for me. When you suggested this, I was like, oh no, I hope I could add some value here. But we're actually talking about something that's often overlooked in men's lives, and that's physical affection, Jeremy. And no, I'm not talking about physical affection like sexually. That's actually not what it's all about, but actual touch. And touch between guys in particular.
Touch between your mates, you and your mates, right? Or what is for friendship. First things first, it's obviously something even I'm looking at you and I'm thinking about it myself too. It's one of those things, we've brought this up very briefly in even a joke that I brought up before. It's like, Byron, if I needed to cross the road and I was feeling scared, would you hold my hand? And you lovingly told me, he's like, Jeremy, I'll hold your hand. That's what homies do, right?
Yeah.
However, it's one of those things where, as we grow up as kids, it's, hold your friend's hand crossing the road, everybody, got to stay in line. But as we get older, it becomes less of a normal thing. But, it's one of those things, girls hold girls' hands all the time. Boys.
Yeah, they're happy to show each other like affection with hugs. They give each other kisses and like on the cheek and stuff. And I mean, gosh, they go to the bathroom together and do all these sort of things. Blokes just don't really have.
We don't do that
at all. Not even close.
Yeah, and obviously the first thing that you'd think of, and as a guy, and you'd be the guy too, is like, oh, we don't do that. That's gay. It's gonna show that I like men.
Well, Jeremy, we got that reaction on TikTok and like YouTube Shorts, and people are like, what? And what is this business?
The thing is, we didn't even introduce the idea of physical touch. We just introduced the idea of, hey, if your mate's feeling down, give them some support. And apparently that's...
Heaven forbid.
That's feminine. That's not masculine to show your dude friend support. So,
I think to quote, why do you want to turn men into women? I was like,
I remember that.
What are you even on about?
What are you even on about? So,
what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's really interesting that a very common notion that guys think supporting each other is not a masculine thing. And what the masculine thing is to be by yourself and not have any, I guess, show any affection whatsoever to your guy friends, much less physical affection.
Gross.
Right?
Disgusting, Jeremy, disgusting.
It's because, okay, we've got some notes here. So if we look at the side and look at our notes here, so it says, a lot of the time for guys, don't be soft, man up, don't cry kind of things, right? Yep. And what does that show to, say, a young boy who falls over or, has a tough time at school or something, and
just bottle it up, little bro.
Bottle it up. You say to your dad's like, Dad, I had a really bad day. He's like, no, man up, Timmy. I'm not hugging you. That's gay. Like, it even sounds stupid. Right?
But it's normal. It's normal in the current thinking, right?
It's in the current thinking, it is. But it's sad that this warms my heart so much. But when I go out, to the shops, or I just go out in public or something, and I just see a father just be loving to his son, it's like, that's so heartwarming. But it feels like it's not
the
a normal
interesting
thing.
thing is it's sort of no, and you see it up until a certain point, right? For a lot, like you see like the 4-year-olds and the 5-year-olds, they're holding dad's hand, and it seems to be somewhere after that point in time that like you never see a 12-year-old kid holding his dad's hand.
Yeah.
Or at least I don't. And then maybe I'm not on the lookout for it, but it feels a lot less normal at that point. So again, going back to experience and where people are getting this sort of notion of you can't show physical affection to each other, has it just devolved, or is it because we've been constantly bombarded with those sentiments of don't be soft,
Don't be soft.
man up, Jeremy?
It's really interesting to have a think about it, and it's funny. The first time I ever thought about it was when I was at I went to an all boys school first of all, and as you already know, and we played sports. We might come into contact with other guys playing sports, and that was okay. But
that's fine.
When it came to giving each other a hug or anything past a handshake was extremely rare.
Or the bro dap was dap. Okay. It's where you like grab and then you come in, you like hit him on the back when you're like, yeah, bro.
Your chest doesn't touch though. It's like, let's touch shoulder at best.
You keep that hand in between. Absolutely.
But if your chest touches, man, no, that's too much. And
well,
go on.
No. To you, my good sir.
I was going to say, when you mentioned before, from a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, it's fine. A young boy will hold his dad's hand or give him a hug. But at what stage does it stop? What stage does either the child feel uncomfortable or does the dad feel uncomfortable with showing affection to their child?
I think it's when they start spending more time around other kids, honestly, and then they see like the boys kind of start working out their pecking order, because guys are a hierarchical kind of creature, right? Like we have the alpha at the top of the pack and he's the cool kid and he's like, yeah, I'm tough and cool and whatever. And then you sort of filter down. It's an interesting sort of notion that we organize ourselves like that. I don't know how much of that is just remnants of the past and how much of it is actually useful now.
Yeah.
But, you can look at a broad range of different industries and things like that, and you'll see that people do sort themselves to a degree. So I reckon once they start hanging around other kids, the kids have different notions that come from their parents, the strong-willed ones, the ones who probably have the mums and dads who are like, little Timmy, you're going to be an absolute warrior. You are going to dominate everything in life. Like, it's not necessarily said like that, of course, but, they're the ones who rise to the top, and because they're the stronger ones, the ones that aren't quite as strong perhaps see that and they're like, oh, I need to be more like strong Timmy over there. Can't touch my bro's hand. That's weird, and then I need to hold the girl's hand. I'm going to go hold the girl because that makes me look cool, right?
It's even in a funny way too, because I don't know if you can remember being 6 years old, 7 years old in school. It's like, oh, I don't want to touch a girl's hand. That's gross.
Yeah, that's true. Only the coolest boy did, right? He was like, if the kid, so I remember being like 8 and there was this boy, what was his name? Andrew. He had a girlfriend. Right?
Wow.
He was the only boy in the class. Yeah, he was the only boy in the class who had a girlfriend. Now he was the fastest runner. Right? He was the coolest guy because he had his girlfriend, and he was just the king shit. I'm like, well, I'm too scared to do that. I can run pretty quick, but I ran away from the girl. Like, did you ever play catch and kiss as a kid?
No.
Oh my god! So what we used to do is it was like boys versus girls, right? And you had to try and run and catch the person that you wanted to kiss. Now, because I was a good runner, I ran really fast. But when it came to catching someone, I was like, oh no, I'm stuck. I can't move because I never wanted to catch anybody. But anyway, little sidebar. Don't play catch and kiss as an adult. You will get done for something.
Right, interesting.
But yes.
I think
good times.
Coming back to it, I think there's a whole plethora of things that have led up to where we are in the current day and age for guys not having that physical touch with each other, just not even as a sign of romantic intention, but just a sign of friendship or support or just showing your fondness for someone in a non-romantic or non-sexual sense. I think it can start anywhere from as you're a kid, you're dad stops holding your hand, your dad stops giving you hugs, or vice versa. You as a kid don't want to hold your dad's hand or give him hugs. Again, it could be the pecking order in school, or the cool kids in class like, yeah, no, I don't hold my dad's hand anymore. I'm a big kid, right?
I'm a big boy.
It could even be the another societal weird notion of like, oh, if you hug your son at this age, does that mean that you like children? You know?
Well, Tom Brady, so NFL like star,
Yes.
like one of the best quarterbacks of all time in American football. He copped a lot of flack for kissing his kids like on the lips.
Yep.
And I know it feels a little bit weird and taboo for some people, like maybe it oversteps a bit of a boundary, but he's very affectionate with his kids.
Yeah.
And they focused on the lip kissing thing.
Of course.
But the thing is, he's like really loving with his boys, right? He's very supportive, like gives them lots of hugs, like doesn't let them leave the room until they give him a hug sometimes and stuff, just to show that there's some sort of, connection between them.
Yeah.
And man, the internet blew up about it. Like, oh, he must be, like you said, are you into children?
Yeah.
Is something funky going on there because you're showing a little bit too much love towards your children?
Yeah.
So yeah, that notion is definitely in the back of people's minds, right? Can't be too affectionate with my child.
I think it's a complicated thing because I know for a lot of guys, one of the biggest fears is being perceived by other people as wrong, or being perceived as there's something not right about this person. And it could be something as simple as just holding your kid's hand, or giving your kid a kiss, just because you want to show them affection. And I think to that degree, being judged by society or having this notion about you, which is a negative one, really scares them. So by the sounds of it, it just looks like society has gone in a way that, hey, let's just make it normal that guys don't do anything lovingly or affectionate at all to anyone who's not their romantic partner.
On that note, I will be 100% upfront. I will avoid interacting with like younger people and children in public.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so let's say we go out and there's kids around and they're part of our little group and whatever.
Yep.
I will avoid showing them any sort of, any interaction, for the simple fact of I don't want anyone to look at me and be like, what is that man doing with that, 7-year-old or 6-year-old? Purely because like, to me, it's too scary. Like, it is actually scary to have the thought that someone could turn around and be like, you're being a creep. I'm like, no, I'm bloody not. Like, don't you ever level an accusation at me like that. That's awful, for one. But I'm just not willing to entertain. And I've talked to Danny about it quite a bit, because that's a terrible thing to have, man.
It is.
Like that fear, like that, and maybe it's irrational, but that little fear in the back of your head saying, no, don't you hold that kid's hand, Byron. Don't you dare. But anyway.
It's really interesting, I think, because, guys and the perception of guys and children, I think I'm very similar in the same way. If there's a child, at the most, like, oh yeah, nice work, man, here, like fist bump or like high five, right? That's the absolute maximum that I would do. For I think at the very much.
But you'd never put a kid on your knee.
No.
Right, and bounce them or anything like that. You wouldn't pick them up and hold them unless they're like a baby that the friend's partner's giving you the baby hug.
Or the parent is right there, being like, here, hold my child. First thing I came to mind, it's near Easter. Oh, Easter bunny photos or Santa Claus photos, right? Parent is right there. Do this. Okay, it's like, okay, cool. Like, you're consenting. You're observing.
My hands are up here. I'm fine.
And I feel like those situations, like, okay, but I'm the same. I don't think I'd ever really go out of my way to be like, oh my god, your child is so cute. Let me give them a hug or a kiss, something. That's just in the same way. It's not my child. I don't have any reason to give them any semblance of affection that's could be misconstrued, I suppose.
But I think it's this sort of stuff that actually like ties in with everything else, right?
I think so too. Right? I think so too.
We start to create these little barriers across different areas. And so then as we grow into who we are as people, it's like, oh, there's only very particular, and the quote that we were given is from Tim Winton. He said, the only time men are allowed to touch each other is in violence or sport, right? And I think about the camaraderie I had with the boys when I was playing AFL or cricket or whatever, hands on back, slaps on the ass, like, yeah, bro, like, we're awesome.
Yep.
Off the footy field, you're kind of like, oh, I'm not going to, I wouldn't walk up to you for a coffee date and be like, slap you on the bum, be like, how are you, Jeremy? Like, it's just not quite the same. But when we're playing sport, it's almost allowed.
Why? That's the big question.
Safe space, man. Because it's culturally appropriate and media appropriate, right? It's what people expect. And therefore, like in that setting and circumstance, we're more than happy to engage, right? Because we're unlocked and it's free. If you applied that same level of freedom and, mental unlock as in modern society, I have no doubt we'd all be walking around grabbing each other's butt, holding each other's hands, giving each other a kiss on the cheek, right? But because it's not there on a wider scale, we don't do it. We just don't have the same permission. It's not because we can't or don't want to. It's just that we're not allowed, in my opinion.
Interesting. And I agree for the most part as well, because I think the reason being that a lot of guys don't show this affection towards each other is because they feel like they're not, quote unquote, allowed to do so. Right? On the footy field, sports field, yeah, let's do it. Give each other a slap on the bum, give each other a hug, fist bump for that moment in time. But again, you say the same thing. Well, let's go catch up for coffee. You see your mate. Depending on the mate, I'd give him a slap on the bum and a hug when I see him. But that's me. And it's I don't know, one of those things that I feel like a lot of guys, if you don't have those close friendships, they seek it out purely from their partner. And if they don't have a partner, they don't have any of that skinship. But to me, it's really important to be able to have that physical touch with someone you're close to.
Why do you think it's important then? Like that, because you said skinship, which I think is really funny.
Yep,
and I imagine it's like skin to skin contact in a friendship sort of way, right?
I think
so. Why?
Okay, I probably should have done a little bit of research about hugs in particular, but you probably see a lot of people making posts about what a hug can do just for the human brain, right? And it's rather than just for something, because I'm romantically involved with them or I love them, whatever it is. If you give a hug to someone, you're quite literally, what is it? There's like a mixture of chemicals in the brain that get unlocked quite literally from like a 10-second hug or something.
I was going to say, the number that pops into my head is 10 seconds.
10 seconds.
Right? There's something about a 10-second, like, chest-to-chest hug. If you can do it skin-to-skin, even better, I believe. But maybe you won't be skin-to-skinning your brothers anytime
When
soon.
I say skinship, I do mean, we can have a hug with shirts on, okay? That's...
Right, boys, time to oil up. Let's go.
Right. And
next time we see each other, Jeremy, this is happening.
And it's, I think it really cements that feeling of connection, security, safety, support. It does all of these things. And I think for a lot of the time why guys don't get that or feel that from each other is because, quite frankly, we're too uncomfortable to hug each other. Like a genuine, like I said, 10-second hug. Not just like Warren, nice to meet you. Pat on the back. And... that's it. And
because it's an intimate moment, it feels. It is. Like when you start going past that 2 or 3 seconds, it's like, ooh, why am I still here? Like, all right. So I, up until the last maybe 12 months, maybe 18 months, I'm not a hugger, right?
Okay.
I've never been a hugger, and it used to make me really, really uncomfortable, right? And I don't know, I haven't thought about why. Like, even to the point when I was a kid, I didn't like people touching me. So my family would go for a massage in Thailand, like Thai massage. I would sit out. I was like, I don't want anyone to touch me. I don't exactly know if it's like a sensory thing for me. I'm not diagnosed or anything, but maybe there's like some sort of thing there. Or if it was because, as a kid, you're hard, bro. That's what I'm going to call it. You just act hard, be hard, just cut it all off where everything's internal. Don't ever let anyone in, and touching is the fastest way to let someone in, so don't do it. But now I'm seeing people, and I think it's seeing more people do it, if that makes sense. Like I'm having more interactions where hugging is kind of the norm.
It's normalized.
People are like, hey, how are you? And they come up and they're like, I'm like, oh, yep, okay, we're doing this. This is nice.
Is it just girls or guys? I'm like,
okay, guys mostly actually, because I don't want to hug the girls because I don't want any sort of... it's funny. I have this brain check where I'm like, should I hug... So especially like, let's say a guy and his partner, I'm now much more comfortable hugging the dude.
Yep.
And then I'm like, but I won't hug the girl. If they come in for it, I kind of like do a check where I'm like, yep, okay, this is fine.
Yep.
You know, and then I move on. But otherwise, I will not initiate a hug with a female.
Interesting.
I'm like, nope.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I had the exact
anyway.
thought because went to convention a couple of weeks ago. Had a friend who was going through a bit of a rough time. It was a girl. You know, giving some advice and it's like, oh, do you want a hug? Because they were just kind of having a bit of a rough time. So give him a hug. It probably wasn't the full 10 seconds, but it was solid 5 or 6 or whatever.
6 or 7.
And it's not because there was anything sexual or anything like that involved, but it was just quite simply because they need some comfort in that moment, right? But in the same way, that's because it's a friend, right? It's a friend who I'm somewhat close to, but I would do the same thing for a guy friend. If Byron, you were having a bit of a rough day and you're kind of on the verge of it's like, bro, just I feel so this sucks. Like, bro, just come here. Just it's a hug. It's something that would show, dude, I support you. Yes, it's quite intimate. I can see you blushing a little bit just thinking about the notion of.
I'm already feeling uncomfortable, Jeremy. What are you doing? Nah.
And I think a big question is what is the difference? What should be the difference here? Because you can feel uncomfortable to doing it with a lady who's a friend because I don't want to give them the wrong idea. I don't want to do it with a guy who's a friend. I don't want to give them the wrong idea. But I genuinely believe, especially if it's with someone who you're a good friend of, someone who you've got that connection with, you should be able to, regardless of gender, be able to give them a supportive hug, just to show, hey, I care about you and I'm here for you. With no exterior notions or motivations, right?
Intentions.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. No, the thing. So when you started saying that, I thought, fuck, how would I react? And you know what the scariest part for me in that quick little thought process was?
Yeah.
If you give me a hug and it's a longer hug and I'm not feeling too good, the chance that I might then start to like unload whatever emotions that I've got pent up inside, like I might cry.
Yeah.
If I'm in that state where I'm feeling vulnerable and you're providing me support, I actually am not sure whether or not I would cry or not. Like, and crying for me is a really big deal, by the way.
Yeah.
We can get into that in a different podcast, but I don't know. I think maybe part of the reason I hold back from some of those longer hugs is I'm not sure I'm equipped to be able to handle the outcome if I start to allow stuff to come out. And that's because that's scary.
It is.
Right?
It is.
Maybe I've got 30 years worth of crap stored in there, Jeremy. And I'm not sure I'm ready to unpack it all in that one hug moment. But no, it's scary stuff.
I'm glad. I appreciate that you're able to be open with me about something like this too. But I think when you mentioned that, it all starts to roll together a little bit. Because if you say, okay, if I'm not feeling my tip-top manly alpha lone wolf predator self, but I'm feeling really stuck. I'm feeling really bad. Vulnerable. And if I allow someone to comfort me or show me that affection, it allows me to be vulnerable around this person. And me being vulnerable around my romantic partner, that's fine, right? Because they've seen that. They're the person in my life. But me being vulnerable around another guy friend, what are they going to think of me? Are they going to think I'm less of a man? Are they going to think I'm less or of a person because of these things?
Do you think you're stronger than me, Jeremy?
Do you think I'm stronger?
Do you think you're more alpha now?
Yeah. And you're right. We might not know how we might react just to kind of have those close connections. But if I cry in front of my guy friend, is he going to think less of me? Is this going to change our friendship? And the answer should be no. The answer should be where like my friendship with my male friend is, if anything, stronger than before because, you've shown your vulnerable side to me. I'm very flattered that you'd feel safe being vulnerable around me. And all I want to do is show you that support. And man, if you need to, if 30 years of emotions come out, if you start crying, if I start crying, it's like, oh God, man, like this,
let's get some ice cream.
Yeah. And I think the big thing here is a lot of guys, number one, it's the notion that guys don't cry, guys are tough around each other, guys want to one-up each other. That is the societal expectation of guys. And I think a reason why a lot of guys don't like, it might be this exact same reason that you're saying, Byron. If they're vulnerable around someone else, emotions might come pouring out, but they don't want to do that. So Byron, I think the real reason I think a lot of guys don't want to break that touch barrier, especially with other guys, it's going to make them vulnerable. It's going to make them open up. It's going to bring up on their whole questioning manhood, which is obviously very confusing to navigate. Do I feel vulnerable around this person? Am I safe to? Am I going to be weak next to this person? Do I like men because this feels good? So it's I think it's a very interesting kind of deep dive that we need to do within ourselves, because inherently there's nothing wrong with a guy giving another guy a hug, especially if it's one of a friendship.
There's just such a strong reaction to it though. It is like at the moment, I feel like if you went and said that to people on the internet and on the street and stuff, you would get some incredibly strong reactions about that statement alone.
Absolutely.
And I think that's potentially, it's a lot of fear, it's a lot of misunderstanding, it's a lot of like questioning. And so the standard response is, no, keep that stuff away from me. I don't want it. But I like the fact that we know there is a lot of research around why physical touch is important and how it actually helps people. And you alluded to it earlier. But things like reducing depression and anxiety and then improving your immune system through touch is kind of cool. Yeah. And there's a whole heap of chemicals that, stress hormones are lowered. You get bonding hormones increase, which is the same hormones that you have when you orgasm. So maybe that's why people are scared of touch. Maybe I'll just be like, oh my God. But yeah, having people around is really important. And so it's like, how do I actually start to incorporate, as a dude who is slowly learning to increase the amount of touch that I engage with, how do we make it safe, Jeremy? How do I not freak out every time I think about this notion and slowly work to a place that's perhaps a little bit healthier and more beneficial for myself and others?
That's a very good question. I'm going to start off my opinion and my answer to this question by, I have a very similar reaction to you, Byron, in that whenever an extended hug from a guy, does it bring up thoughts of discomfort or uncertainty? Yeah, it does. I first realized this when I actually left the all-boys school and I went to university and met more well-adjusted people there in the anime club. And one of my good friends who I'd met in the club and we'd known each other for a couple of years, we were saying hello or goodbye, and he just gives me like a full hug. Not like pat on the back, but like bring it in, shirts touching.
Come here, bro.
Yeah, and just a hug. And in that moment, that exact moment, I said, wow, I actually feel a little bit uncomfortable. And I asked myself, why?
Yeah.
Why? Because I know this guy isn't attracted to me in that way. I know that we're good friends and we've been friends for a while. Why does this hug make me feel uncomfortable? That's the first time that I thought about it. And again, I think it's a combination of everything that we've already talked about. Societal expectations, my manhood, my thoughts about sexuality, all of those things.
Yeah.
But if you are as manly as we think we are, we should be more well established in how we know ourselves. Yeah, I know that I'm a straight guy. Yeah, I know that I'm not attracted to men in that way. So therefore, any hug that I do get from a guy, it is going to be purely platonic. It is going to be purely out of support and friendship. Right? And then I know there's no intentions there. Yep. So to answer your initial question then, what's the best way to start getting ourselves into a position where we become more comfortable with the idea that friendship, skinship, bonding between men is normal? Just like we open up to new friends from 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, we do it in little bits. It's the same thing. You meet a new friend, what do? You give them a handshake, right?
Yeah.
Next time you meet them, hey, cool, let's dap it up. Bring it in with a back pat, right? But I think slowly but surely, the goal is, especially in today's society, just to make hugging very normal. So maybe you do get to a stage in your friendship with another guy. You've known them for a little while. You should hopefully be beyond just a handshake. It's just very formal and stiff. And greet each other with a hug. And that's what I've really started to do with a lot of my friends that I'm close to. And it doesn't matter if it's a guy. It doesn't matter if it's a girl. That's just the normal greeting. It's like, dude, I haven't seen you in ages. I was like, my friend,
How are
who's
you?
a lady, I haven't seen you in ages. Like, it's great to see you again. And it doesn't have to be a 10-second hug, but, you know, a gentle hug of 2 or 3 seconds. That's not just like pat on the back, but like, hey, it's great to see you again, like genuinely. And
Yeah.
I think that's a very good start. You know, where it starts to get into kiss cheeks with the homies, I actually do that occasionally. Number one, to kind of test a reaction to see, it's like, all right, how comfortable is this person? But also, two, again, it's a playful joke because you know me. A lot of my close friends know me as well. I'm quite straight. I don't think...
I would never have guessed otherwise.
Oh, believe it or not, yes, I love women in a romantic sense. Okay, so whenever I do, you know, give my homie a kiss on the cheek, it's like, whoa, that's a sign of affection that I know is not going to go anywhere because he's straight. Like, what? Right? But again, I wouldn't do that to a lady unless I did have romantic intentions.
Yeah.
Right? So with
see, that's where it gets blurry.
It is. Right?
Yeah. Fuck.
And again, unless you don't know someone very well, it will be blurry. Right?
Yeah.
But especially with your close friends, it should be pretty easy.
Yeah,
Should
that is
the
very
question. Is the key here.
Oh,
so
man. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not saying, Byron, you need to go out and start kissing your homies, but start getting used to the idea that, hey, a hug between two friends should be normal. Should be very
Do you know
normal.
what's really interesting though?
Yeah.
Is in the gym culture, right? The amount of male on male affection that is joked about is off the chart. Right? So the whole thing of kiss your homies goodnight, you know, and you know, what happens between the homies stays between the homies kind of deal. There is a lot of, you know, talk about this physical affection, like grabbing your guy's butt and stuff like that in a gym setting, right? And in there, it's all safe and playful and it's okay. But whether or not they actually act on it, I have no clue.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, there is so much conversation and it's very prevalent in some of the media that you'll consume, especially online, where it's like, yeah, that's funny, ha ha ha, like, yeah, this is what bros do, you know? Like, you can actually just look up the hashtag, like, don't forget to kiss your homies and stuff, things like that. Absolutely. It's just boys being boys. But why is it then so scary to actually, it just is such an enigma to me now.
And I think at the end of the day, I love that expression, at the end of the day, it's all about vulnerability and guys being very scared to be vulnerable. It's easy to joke around with your mates, give them a slap on the bum, give them a hug when everyone's laughing and smiling on the footy pitch, having a drink.
Yeah, because
but when you're sober, when you are one-on-one with one of your best mates, it's very difficult to be vulnerable in that state. Because it's all easy to be vulnerable, laughing, fun and games when there's jokes around. You can play it off as a joke. You can blame it on the alcohol. But when there's nothing but you and a mate, an honest conversation, it's very difficult.
God, man.
So again, Byron,
That's it.
This is us thinking about it. So what's going through your head?
I'm just thinking this is, it's like, I can't put myself past the fear notion and the scary notion, even though I'm pretty comfortable with, like, for instance, if you said to me, Byron, let's have a 10-second hug, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I'll give it a go.
And if we were at a party, lots of people around, everyone smiling and laughing. Right, guys, give each other hugs, like, bro, come give it a hug. Very easy.
Yeah, because everyone sort of is like, oh yeah, look at that. But if we're in a one-on-one setting, right? We go, I don't know, to lunch. It's just you and I, and we walk up and we embrace in the restaurant for 10 seconds.
Yep.
Actually, maybe it's the fact that other people are looking around going, what are those two dudes doing? And not that it should even matter.
Yeah.
Right? Not that it should even matter whatsoever, but that thought flashes into your head.
It does.
Oh, what if someone's judging me right now?
Yeah. And
God,
obviously
I'm such a little baby.
No, dude, these are normal thoughts. I'm glad we're having this discussion. And, you know, we can flip it around to if we were hugging a friend who was a girl. We're like, oh, people looking at me? Oh, that's normal. You know, it's a couple, right? And so people are less judgy or whatever. But in the same way, if I was hugging a friend who was a lady, depending on how you feel about it, some people would be like, this is great, we're good friends. some people would be uncomfortable. It's like, oh, I've got a partner. I kind of want to show support for them, but not show that I'm interested.
Yeah.
But again, it comes back to how well do you know each other? If you're good friends, they know, yeah, I've got a partner that I'm in love with, but you're my friend and I'm here to support you. So this hug has no ulterior motives. It's just to show that I support you.
Yeah. So I think we need to collectively work towards, and even individually, if you can't, if the collective doesn't want to work on it, so be it. But individually, try and break through that touch barrier. By the sounds of it,
It
like
is
intentionally with people that you trust, and I think that's also the key. So creating and curating good relationships with people that you actually, like I said, not 0 to 100. You know, you've worked your way through the different milestones with people, but intentionally make sure that in those safe interactions with someone like yourself, Jeremy, I can be like, hey man, let's try a 7-second hug, and then do an 8-second hug.
Put it this way, dude.
Okay.
If I haven't seen you, because we're obviously good mates, and if I haven't seen you in like a full 6 months to a year, and I see you at the airport for the first time, I'm like, dude, it's so good to see you. I'll give you a hug. Minimum, there'd be automatically, naturally, a 5 or 6 second hug. That's what I believe.
Minimum. Deal.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna work up to that. We're gonna film our very first 10-second hug.
It's like, haven't seen each other, testing out the waters with this kind of hug. And again, for example, if I just gave you, dude, haven't seen you in a while, give you a hug, give you like mwah, big kiss on the cheek, what would you think of it?
Watch me pass out. That'd be okay. I think that'd be okay because again, I know who you are.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. You're not like, oh, did I misread this the entire time? Is Jeremy into me? Or would you be like,
cracking on, boys.
Oh, I'm not gay, and you punch me in the face? Like, what would your reaction be, right?
That'd be a hell of a scene, wouldn't it? Okay. Well, in terms of that sort of stuff, I did look at some of the info, and I think the reason why this is actually so important is like across a broad range of studies, it's actually been shown that men who commonly greet each other with touch, like hugging and cheek kissing and that sort of thing, have a much lower rate of suicide and loneliness. And that's according to the World Health Organization, right?
Yeah, wow.
So broadly speaking, those cultures that actually, and I immediately thought of Italians.
Yep.
I'm like, I wonder what the Italian culture is kind of like, right? They're very much like, come here, like, let me give you a kiss.
Yeah.
And I wonder if they're just like slightly less lonely and feel more connected as a result of, and actually thinking about it, maybe I'm just like going down a rabbit hole, but the camaraderie between like Italian people is really strong.
Yeah.
Right? The boys, they stick together and they look after each other a bit, at least from the interactions that I've had. I think a lot of those Mediterranean cultures are actually very similar. So maybe there's some validity to it, Jeremy.
Yeah, there you go. I know Greek culture is actually very similar in that way, but again, that's Mediterranean, so.
Yeah. Look, well, I mean, so at the end of the day, we just got to start small and, you know, what do you call it? Like exposure therapy.
Exposure therapy is the way of doing it.
Expose ourselves a bit more.
And look, Brian, I think this as well, because we both go to comic book conventions, right? And a lot of the time there's this notion of, oh, can I have a hug or free hugs or whatever it is? And I think a lot of people just by nature, especially guys, are touch starved because if you think about it, unless you've got a really close relationship with your parents or you're currently dating somebody, for a guy, that's typically the only interaction physically that they'll ever get.
Yeah. Which also makes sense for why they get so invested very quickly sometimes.
Guys particularly.
Yeah, you get a hug from someone and it's like, oh my God, this was the greatest experience ever. I'm going to hang on to this.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because for girls, I talk to my partner and she's like, we give each other hugs all the time. We hold hands all the time. And we know there's nothing underlying because we know each other because they're a lot more comfortable with the idea that, yes, this is a friendship. Yes, there's nothing else involved in this. And I'm okay with hugging. I think guys have got a lot of vulnerability things that they need to address. There's obviously a lot of societal norms and expectations that, again, if you're truly the manly man you think you are, you shouldn't care what society thinks about you and just do, what is right for you. But I think for that matter, a lot of guys are touch starved. They're affection starved. If you're not dating anyone, maybe you don't have a close relationship with your parents, who are you going to hug? So
you're not hugging anyone, are you?
And so that's, I think, why guys, they do get a lot they get a lot of
Damn.
loneliness.
Okay.
It starts to unravel quite a bit, doesn't it? So, but I think that is the underlying problem for men in general. They're just touch starved. We're just touch starved. And like I said, if you don't have that close relationship with your parents, your partner, you got no one to hug, and if you're not close with your homies because you're scared of being vulnerable, you're scared of what society thinks, you're not going to, have that affection from anybody. And as we know, as a human being, not just as a guy, it's important. It's important to have this
Massively
connectedness in our life. So, look, I think just to kind of start wrapping up, really, most men are really starved for touch, but we have no idea how to appropriately seek it out, right? So I think a good way, if you're someone listening in and this sounds like you, maybe you only have your partner to give a hug to, which is good. It gives you that source that you need. But maybe you are someone without that. Maybe you don't have that close connection with your family. And you're not sure where to go from here, and you are someone who feels a bit lonely or touch-starved. The way to go about it, like we mentioned earlier in the episode, is, first of all, find a good group of friends that you can 100%. Feel comfortable being vulnerable with. Go back to a couple of episodes that we recorded ago. If you want to find a good group of friends, it doesn't go from, let's go from 0 to 100. Let's dump all of my trauma, all of my past experiences that make me feel bad. Whoa, slow it down. Start with...
What the hell's wrong with you, man?
Again, you're testing the waters with this person. Go from 0 to 10. Ask them a little bit about themselves. 10 to 20. Ask them a little bit about their history, about their upbringing. 20 to 30. Ask them a little bit more about their family. What's some 30 to 40? What are some tough things that you've been through? If you can suss out that this person is someone who is going to listen and going to empathize with you, they're not going to give you shit for, I grew up as an only child and, I didn't have a good relationship with my dad and they give you shit for it. Well, obviously not your kind of person.
Find someone else.
Find someone else. In the same way, with touch, make it a point to kind of organically, naturally, make it part of, your life that hugging is normal. Giving someone a handshake shouldn't be the only interaction you have, right? Because a handshake is a diplomatic thing. It's a formal
It's transactional.
thing. It's transactional.
Yeah.
But, if you give someone a hug, it shows you're a bit closer. So work your way up to, handshake, pat on the back, a dap, bro hug, whatever it is.
Or even like putting your hand on a mate's shoulder, like while you're standing there and stuff, is another great way to actually start to have that connection. Or I don't know about you, but when you're standing in a circle, do you like give yourself space? Or do you like ever, are you ever like bumping shoulders with a homie?
I think most people just stand like this, right? That's what they do. If you want to be a bit of a larrikin in a nice way, just bump his shoulder,
Yeah.
Builds up that,
break down
those touch barriers bit by bit, right? In a way that is, if you want to do it, with a guy, with a girl, it doesn't matter. It's all the same in terms of what's appropriate, right? You wouldn't just immediately grab your homie's waist, just like you wouldn't grab a lady's waist, right? No. But you would kind of like, give them a joking bump. You'd smack them on the back. You'd, touch their shoulder. That kind
Maybe
of thing.
Don't bump and smack the girls, though.
No,
no. They don't appreciate that one. Don't do that.
Especially if you're a bit of a more muscular guy like Byron, you might just knock them off the footpath.
You don't realize how strong you are. Yeah, you're just like, I'm sorry. Anyway.
But
Start small.
Start small and work your way up. So I think that's the best way to go. So, but look, if you guys liked our discussion this episode, it's quite a thought-provoking one, this one.
It's a scary one.
It is a bit of a scary one. If you like...
It's a good one to talk more about.
Well, that's what we're here for, Byron. We're here to have these conversations, which, I don't know, maybe some people listening and squirming a little bit. It's like, I would never touch a guy. That's weird. But, as you can see, I platonically and friendly touch guys with hugs and shoulder bumps and stuff like that. And Byron doesn't think any less of me. He doesn't think I'm any less masculine or that I like men in any particular way. And even if I did, it's not an issue.
Correct.
But yeah, just make it a very normal thing. I don't know, my friendships just feel richer. I feel more connected with my homies. I feel like I can have those discussions with them, and I feel like I've got some wonderful people in my life, and just having that touch
the upside's huge.
barrier broken, it really helps. So
Yeah.
anyway, if you enjoyed this episode, please consider checking out our Just Men podcast Patreon, where you can support us at the cost of a cup of coffee every month. Links in the bio and all that good stuff. But one last thing to kind of take away is just ask yourself, when was the last time that you feel like you were actually held by somebody?
Yeah.
When was the last time?
That's a partner.
Yeah. That's not your partner. That's a very good question. When was the last time you felt like you were held by someone that wasn't your partner? Yeah. And just something to sit on, because it shouldn't be, it was that time that my parents hugged me when I was just a wee lad at 6 years old. Like,
yeah, that's it. Which might be some people's only experience. So
it might be. So
well, let us know if maybe we start a hug club off the back of this. We'll catch up with each other and just hug it out.
Just Men Hug Club.
Could be good. I'm just saying.
Might be life changing. Anyway, thank you for tuning in, guys. Thanks for tuning in this long. Appreciate you very much, and we'll see you next week.
Much love.
See ya.